Good evening, Jonesboro, and welcome to Shot Clock. I'm your host, Cody Dertow. Some of you may remember me from last year, where Kurt Camphausen and I called this set home. Kurt's doing some other spectacular things for ASU TV now, but don't worry, he'll drop by from time to time for a talk or a special feature. We've revamped the show a little, but don't worry, we got the same solid entertainment and news you could trust before. Now that we're formally introduced, let's get to the juicy stuff in sports. Timberwolves hired Rick Alderman as the team's new head coach, amidst the uncertainty of the NBA lockout. Alderman, who last coached the Houston Rockets over the previous 4 seasons, will take over a team that finished last in the Western Conference with a 17-65 record. The Timberwolves are hoping that he can work his trademark magic. In 20 seasons as a head coach, Alderman holds a .605 winning percentage, has made 16 playoff trips, and ranks 8th all-time in head coaching with 945. A turnaround master, he took the Sacramento Kings to the playoffs 8 straight years, the only appearances in that franchise's history, and kept the winning program in Houston despite losing both Yao and Tracy McGrady. Reports are that GM David Kahn was searching for a coach that would improve the molasses-like pace of the Timberwolves, and Alderman fits that bill as well. His teams have finished 5th or higher in that category 9 times. He also knows Kevin Love, who played with Alderman's son in high school. That could go a long way in the T-Wolves resigning Love and making Minnesota relevant for win, the first time since losing Kevin Garnett after the 2007 season. In an effort to call attention to college sports amateurism, a report published this week by the National College Players Association and Drexel University professor Ellen Starowski claims that the average fair market value of top-tier collegiate football men's and basketball players is well over $100,000 apiece. Former UCLA linebacker Ramogi Huga, president of the NCPA, which has over 14,000 members, half of which are active players, feels that the athletes should be entitled to at least portions of that amount. The report argues that since athletes are receiving scholarships, many of which don't cover full costs at major universities, athletes are technically living below the poverty line for a single individual at 85% of the schools. Depending on the school, these differences in debt can be anywhere from $1,000 to $6,000, and while figures from home assistance and summer jobs are not taken into account, Huma and Starowski say the voluntary summer camps definitively cut into a player's ability to make money. An interesting figure released by the NCAA backs up the report's claim, saying that big-time college sports is a full-time job. The NCAA found that FBS football players spend roughly 43 hours per week during season in sports commitment, and Division I basketball players are not far behind with 39. With this level of intensity, Starowski says that colleges could share ticket and network television revenue, much like professional leagues such as the NFL do, and this money could be put into a quote-unquote educational lockbox, in which players could tap into if they exhaust athletic eligibility before graduation or be granted it after earning a degree with no conditions. If athletes could endorse products, part of the money could be used immediately, with the other going into the lockbox. Huma thinks that the move would eliminate the black market of players illegally accepting money or property such as cars from boosters. Interested in the potential value of those players? Here's an example. Division I football athletes would be worth an average of $121,000 apiece, and basketball players an average of $265,000. Duke basketball would reign supreme with an estimated player worth at over $1 million each, and Texas football players coming in second at just over $500,000 each. Novak Djokovic beat Rafael Nadal in a rematch of the 2010 U.S. Open to win the 2011 edition Monday night, the Serbian's 3rd major title of the season. But it wasn't easy, as Djokovic was battling a hurt back, receiving treatment 3 separate times during a match that lasted 4 hours and 10 minutes. It is perhaps among the best duel in the history of the U.S. Open. More than 24 points were contested by at least 15 strokes, although Djokovic ended with 55 winners compared to Nadal's 23. Djokovic ended the year with a 64-2 match record, among the best in professional tennis history. Over the last year, we've seen a shift in power throughout men's tennis, with Djokovic taking over the spotlight and the world's top ranking from both Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer. And he's only 24 years old. Some definite food for thought. After the break, I'll be discussing Red Wolf sports and the mixed start to all the fall teams. Don't go anywhere.
Oh, this isn't good. I was a gift from him to her. I'm going to the animal shelter, which isn't necessarily bad. I just hate the stigma associated with shelter pets. People will think I bite or that I spray everywhere. They're the ones with problems. I'm totally fine. Adopt me, you'll see. I'm gonna go pack.
I can't even believe you! And she has a mustache!
Journalism is the first rough draft of history.
Journalism
is in fact history on the run.
Journalism is organized gossip.
Journalists are like dogs.
Whenever anything moves, they begin to bark.
A herald is an official messenger being used.
a person's views.
As a sign that something is about to happen.
A good newspaper.
Talking to itself.
My name is
Sarah.
Jared.
Raven.
Sam.
Anna.
Trey.
Whitney.
Dula.
Molly. And I am the voice of the Herald.
Did you buy the flashlight and the batteries?
Yes.
Did you make sure we're not missing anything in the first aid kit?
Yep.
Did you go through the plan with the kids again?
Yes.
The more you prepare today, the more you'll be able to reduce the devastating effects of a tornado, an earthquake, a power outage, or any other disaster. Get a kit, make a plan, be informed. Visit ready.gov.
Arkansas State University. One howl of an experience. Text HOWL to 74700.
Welcome back. We're going to start with ASU football. The home team coming off an extremely impressive 47-3 victory over the Memphis Tigers, the largest margin of victory for ASU in the history of those school series. With the win, the Red Wolves now stand at 1-1 on the season. And during the game, while plenty of offensive talent was showcased, what stood out to me was the defensive performance. After giving up 33 points to Illinois in the previous week, Memphis gained just 169 yards of total offense off the Red Wolves' D. The Tigers had only 87 yards passing, and the only score came with 3 minutes and 53 seconds left in the second quarter. For those who remember, ASU had a tough time holding down opponents' offenses last season en route to that 4-8 record. If Hugh Freeze hopes to lead his team to a bowl game, repeats of the 5-sack and 25% opponent third down conversion rate will go a long way, as will stud performances from senior members Deron Edwards, Nathan Harold, and Demario Davis. I think that there will be some bumps along the way, but after a defensive score at Illinois and the complete domination of Memphis, the optimism is there. Anything close to 611 offensive yards from Ryan Applin and crew won't hurt either. The ASU soccer team is in full swing, having played 6 games already this season. Although they've lost 3 straight after starting 2-0 with a tie, the matches have all been nail-biters. Anchors Kara Nitti, Jessica Jingblad, and Ashley McMurtry have paced the offensive end with 4 goals and 7 assists between them. During last Sunday's home loss to Murray State, the Red Wolves outshot the Racers 17-14, but according to head coach Stefaza Zienge, the team just did not convert chances that they usually do. That's true, But again, from my observations, the defense will need to step up heavily, much like the defense of the football team. In the opening 3 games, ASU soccer allowed just 2 goals. That total has risen to 10 in the last 3. Soccer is a game of select opportunity, and ASU has to find their focus again. I believe this team can only go as far as the strength of the backfield and the goalie play will take them. When we come back, Brad Bobo will join me when we return to discuss some of the little-known details behind college athletics. You won't want to miss it.
The magical thing about using energy wisely is that anyone can do it. Turn off lights. Use energy-saving light bulbs. And turn off computers and game systems when not in use. Make a change and we can really fly. Grab a grown-up and go online to energy.gov/kids.
Every student needs encouragement to finish high school. Go to boostup.org to give Reagan and the students in your community the boost they need to make it through.
Even an Iraq vet like me who's in really good shape needs good health care.
Especially when it's top quality and convenient. And it's not just for men. In fact, aren't you a vet, Patricia?
Yeah, I served in the Air Force.
So why not come in today? When you check in, you'll get a full medical exam, first thing. Free for vets at the VA. So check us out and see you here.
Sitting across from me this evening is the Director of Corporate Sales and New Media for the ASU Athletic Department, Mr. Brad Bobo. Brad, thanks for taking time with me this evening.
Cody, thanks for having me. No problem.
Okay, Brad, let's go ahead and start. If you will, tell the folks at home a little bit about yourself, you know, your history with athletics, and how you became a Red Wolf and an important part of the ASU Athletic Department.
Well, for me, just now, in my 8th year full time, but to kind of take it back further than that, I started, like you and like the rest of the folks in here with us today, just as a student, as a kid that grew up in Northeast Arkansas, grew up in Paragould, and decided in high school that the broadcast field was something I wanted to go into, and from the time I made that decision, where I was going to do it was never a question. I knew when I decided to go into broadcast, I knew it was going to be at Arkansas State because of the strength of this radio TV program. Went through my college years here, kind of hedged my bets a little bit while I was going through the radio TV program. Was spending the rest of my time back in Paragould working in the newspaper business, learning that side of it too. Spent time after college working in newspaper and radio at the same time back in Paragould, and that led into an opportunity to do play-by-play for Arkansas State women's basketball and baseball. After a year of that, a full-time position on staff came open. I was lucky enough to get that and keep the opportunity to still call women's basketball as well as be a part of the football broadcast. And, in the 7+ years since then, the job title and the job duties have evolved quite a bit. Started out as an assistant director of marketing, and again, just kind of the job has evolved into what it is now, kind of covering the areas of broadcast, licensing, and new media.
Right, and I'm sure that probably takes a lot of time that people, as an average viewer of Red Wolf Athletics probably don't understand. I mean, how big of a time commitment is that?
Well, it's all the time you got. There's a kind of a joke in the athletic department that we're going to start just working half days, and they tell us pick whatever 12 hours you wanted to work. It's certainly not an 8 to 5 job. It's not a Monday to Friday job. Things are happening all the time, any day of the week, but at some level, if you're going to be in it, you got to love it. You got to love athletics, love that part of it, and then love what you do within it. And certainly, that's the situation I've gotten myself into now, focusing on three things, three kind of core areas that I have a passion for, and hoping to take each of those three to the next level for Arkansas State.
Yeah, I'm sure the viewers at home really appreciate your hard work. And Brad, just to kind of, expand on that a little bit. For the average fan that may come to a football game or may come to a basketball game, outside of your play-by-play duties, where visibly we hear your voice or see your face, what can the average Arkansas State fan recognize your work? What is something recognizable maybe in the city of Jonesboro or in Northeast Arkansas in general that they can see in front of their eyes that you've done?
We'll kind of take each of those three areas. In the area of broadcast, the one thing outside, like you said, outside the play-by-play part, the main thing I want to make sure is that we always have commercials that are airing on our radio partners. They're always airing on our TV partners, promoting anything we've got coming up. So that's a big part of that. Also, 3 years ago, got off the ground a network of cable systems across the state that replay A-State football games every week. I'm responsible for getting that out and distributed each week across the state and even into the Boot Hill, Missouri, that plays Arkansas State football every week. So that's kind of some parts from the broadcasting side, as well as, maybe not something that people in Northeast Arkansas still see. And maybe I think the biggest advance we've made in the broadcast realm is the fact that now we send highlights ourselves, highlights, interviews, whatever the case may be, electronically to every TV station in Memphis, every TV station in Little Rock, to where, at times where those stations may not have been willing or able always to send a reporter to Jonesboro, they'll run the stuff now that they can sit at their desk and get it a lot of times. And I think, we're probably 4 years into that project, and I think it's no exaggeration to say, especially in Little Rock, it's gotten us 10 years worth of coverage in those 4 years. That's how big an increase we've seen in A-State coverage down there. On the licensing side, basically, hopefully if we're doing our job right, everything you see that's got an A-State or a Red Wolves logo on it is something I've seen before as the licensing director. We work with Collegiate Licensing Company, which is the biggest name in that industry, to police and govern our licensing program, which obviously has a revenue avenue to it that generates good money for us, but more than anything, it helps us oversee the use of our marks and make sure that our name, Arkansas State, our logos, our federally trademarked names and marks are being used in the way that we want them to be. From the new media side, new media is a title that you'll see in more and more athletic departments these days, and that's just kind of taking things that are kind of cutting edge, very involved in our social media platforms. Obviously, we have a website with a ton of video capacity, not to mention 2 different Facebook pages, a YouTube channel, a Twitter feed, kind of oversee all those. And then hopefully you see an increasing number of video on all of those social media platforms, and that's kind of the stuff we cover in the new media aspect of the job.
All right, and real quick, if you don't mind, why don't you tell the viewers at home what those new media sites are so they can go onto their personal computer and find them.
Okay, well, obviously, the primary site for the athletic department is astateredwolves.com. That's your #1 source, but past that, sort of the reason we have 2 Facebook pages is because we started the first one before the fan pages became as big a part as they were. So Hal actually has his own Facebook page. He's Hal A State, but our primary Facebook page is facebook.com/AStateRedWolves. Our YouTube channel you can subscribe to at A-State Athletics, or follow us on Twitter at A-State-RedWolves.
Hopefully the viewers at home will get on that. At least we hope you guys will, because the more fans we have in the seats and supporting the athletic department, the better, obviously.
Absolutely.
All right, real quick before we wrap up the segment, the football team, you're a big part of that. 1-1 so far, the Illinois, the Memphis game. Real quick, give me your personal take on the way the team has played overall and what you see happening with the development of the rest of the season.
I mean, the big thing is just the excitement. It's something I've never seen growing up here my entire life, going to school here, covering it just as a media member, or now kind of inside as part of the team, if you will. Never seen the excitement like it is right now. It's been an ongoing process to build this thing to where, it's not very long ago that you went to a place like Illinois to open the season and you just hoped nobody got hurt. And that's kind of all you hoped going into it. To go now and lose a football game like that and see the players and coaches mad about losing at a Big Ten place, it's just kind of, and to see the fans disappointed, kind of is the biggest measuring stick to me about where our programs come. And then to come home and just kind of absolutely dismantle Memphis that way was a big note. And then obviously with the game of Virginia Tech coming up, and then obviously everybody has circled that next chance to be at home on the 24th against UCA. Hopefully a chance to crank some momentum up as we head into 8 straight Sun Belt games, the most important games of the season coming up the last 2 months.
Yeah, I think the UCA game, we could see the stands close to capacity as we saw at Memphis as well.
Hope so. I'll go step out there and predict a record crowd. But if you're watching this before the UCA game, don't hesitate to call at 972-2781. Don't believe anybody if they tell you that game's a sellout. It is not. Get your tickets early. Let's make sure that we fill that place up with red, and the purple can maybe watch it from out in the parking lot.
I like the way that sounds. Brad, thanks for joining me this evening.
Cody, appreciate you having me.
Guys, Brad Bobo, always a pleasure. When we come back, I'm going to give you the players for your fantasy team this weekend that's going to produce big after what was a lackluster and crazy opener for the NFL. Stay tuned.
Yo, check out this chef, right? Right? That's so gay. That's really gay. Dude, look at those pants.
Please don't say that.
What?
Don't say that something is gay when you mean that something is dumb or stupid. It's insulting. It's like if I thought this pepper shaker was stupid and I said, man, this pepper shaker is so 16-year-old boy with a cheesy mustache. Just saying. When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off.
As sports fans, we can all get a little crazy. But for the times when we aren't screaming at refs and calling the other team names under our breath, the casual sports fan needs the opportunity to make a point with class. Welcome to the Red Wolf Roundtable.
Around here, we've got you covered. With NBA trades, NFL superstars, MLB salaries, bowl games, and March Madness, our analysis won't keep you dry at the water cooler.
Real sports, only on ASU TV Channel 18, where the winners talk.
Journalism is the first rough draft of history.
Journalism
is in fact history on the run.
Journalism is organized gossip.
Journalists are like dogs.
Whenever anything moves, they begin to bark.
A herald is an official messenger being used.
A person views
As a sign that something is about to happen.
A good newspaper.
Talking to itself.
My name is
Sarah.
Jared.
Raven.
Sam.
Anna.
Trey.
Whitney.
Dula.
Molly. And I am the voice of the Herald.
We can all be energy savers. It's easy. Turn off lights. Use energy-saving light bulbs. And turn off electronics and appliances when not in use. Make a change and we can really fly. Learn more at energy.gov/kids.
For Christians like myself, the first week of the NFL season was definitely frustrating with the injuries around teams and especially the uneven amount of play we saw around the league. But this week, I've got the top guys at each position that should make a difference for your team on Sunday. At quarterback, Brady. After the performance he had on Monday night, how could you not start him? He already seems to be in midseason form, and he's perfect for a start this weekend. Following Brady, we've got Cutler playing the Falcons, who absolutely did not show up against the Bears. Matthew Stafford and what is developing into a very scary Detroit offense. Joe Flacco, who dismantled the Steelers, and Matt Schaub, who I think will rebound against the Dolphins this weekend after a very shaky performance against what was a suspect Colts team. At running back, we have Cedric Benson, who gashed the Browns, and he has a favorable matchup this weekend against the Broncos, who gave up plenty of yards to another man on the list, Mr. Darren McFadden. Then we've got Peyton Hillis, who I think will rebound spectacularly as the Browns figure out their offensive philosophy. And then Ray Rice and LaShawn McCoy, two fantasy starters that you can count in and week out to produce for your team. At receiver, we've got Andre Johnson, the top receiver in the NFL, followed by Calvin Johnson of the Lions, again hooking up with Stafford, Brody White of the Falcons, Anquan Bolden of the Ravens, who looks to hook up with Flacco, and Wes Welker, who looks to hook up with Brady. Who knows, we could see another 99-yard touchdown play. At tight end, we've got Dustin Keller of the Jets, who had caught a touchdown and had 61 yards against the Cowboys. Benjamin Watson, who's turning into a great safety blanket and scoring option for Colt McCoy. Antonio Gates, the top tight end in the game. Vernon Davis, the San Francisco 49ers offense. And Rob Gronkowski, one of the two featured tight ends for the Patriots, who had monstrous series last weekend in Miami on Monday night. On defense, start the Ravens. They dismantled the Steelers, and they're going to come out looking to play hard. But also start the Steelers. After getting dismantled by the Ravens, you know head coach Mike Tomlin's going to look to steady that team. And then also start the Browns, Lions, and Jets, as they have favorable offensive matchups this weekend. Hopefully those picks will help you to win your weekly matchup, and I hope they help me to win mine. But that's going to do it for all of us here at Shot Clock this week. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the weekend. If you have any questions, follow me on Twitter, @Cody Dertow, or if you'd like to send an email, holler at me at codydertow@yahoo.com. And remember, if the day gets you down, it's been a hard week, sports always beat the clock, and it's a great way to kick back and relax. I'll see you next week.